borderline like hyperventilating.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm like, well, I don't want to let them down. I don't want my mom to feel like she's not welcomed or any of these types of things.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I didn't know how to say it, and it was just coming out so horrible. And I saw like my mom almost like look sad, which is even more heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's next year, New Year's ago. I was like, I'm carving out time with the pops, even if you don't remember a single thing I say for the half hour.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not about what I get out of it.
Yeah.
It's like the guy poured his life into me. The least I could do is just be there with him and like, you say the same thing fucking 10 times in a row. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But like, maybe that is a good lesson. It's like sometimes you're gonna need to do these things that are completely selfish that might be really hard for you, but they're really great for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's life.
I don't want to make you feel bad, but you said the same thing last year.
Yeah.
So I want you to really stick to that and make some time for him because that's what I've been doing all this year. Like every time we have like breaks off, it's like, I'm not going anywhere. I just want to I want to spend as much time with the family because that shit is limited. Yeah. And I always feel like great afterwards. So like you feel good after you see your family.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's like.
No, it's not. I'm just dealing with different things in my family.
That's true.
So it's just like, it's incredibly like heartbreaking. So it's like
you don't come away from it feeling filled up.
No, I feel horrible.
Okay. So that's really different.
But I have to deal with that, and that's part of it. Yeah. And maybe I can find a way to have joy if it makes him feel great.
Yeah.
Like I have carved out more time this year for my family than I have in the past. I know that, but I want to do it with even more regularity, just because they need it.
This is also, it's going to be kind of selfish, I guess, and maybe sad, but I think a lot about, like, when they're gone, I don't want to look back and be like, I should have spent more time.
Yeah.
And you will, no matter what. Like, my mom, I barely get to see her anymore, so I know that's going to happen, but, like, I want to look back and say, I did as much as I possibly could, or feel like I did at least a fucking lot. I really tried.
That's what
I really tried here.
Yeah.
Because if they're gone and you just sit and you're like, I didn't, you never get to go back and redo that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The other day I was like so fucking anxious about some shit. I didn't even really know what it was. You ever in those states where you're like so irritable because you have anxiety about a thing, but you don't know exactly what the thing is, right? And I was going to do some stand-up. I was doing some shows at the Cellar, and I wanted to make sure I had enough time to like be ready for those shows. I'm working out new material and that kind of stuff, but I'm fine bombing if I know I put the time in before to at least have all the things I want to work on.
It was
ready.
intentional.
Exactly. Like I'm working on these things and it's not like, there was a joke that I should have done, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm totally okay with it as long as I put in the work before. If I bomb and I didn't put any work in before, I'm an asshole. And I wasted the time on stage and I wasted those people's time. So I'm like trying to get all these things and I'm going on and my window's super tight. I'm not being the best with Emma. Like everything is in the way. I go home, I have no time. Like everything's calculated to like the fucking minute. And right when I walk in, the doorman says, I think your parents just went upstairs. My parents have never surprised me that one time in my apartment. They surprised me that one time and I'm just like overwhelmed with anxiety or stress because I'm like,
every minute is planned, and now I got to dedicate time to it.
And the last thing I want is when my family is visiting me out of nowhere to congratulate Emma and I on the anniversary for me to make them feel unwanted. So I'm walking in there, I'm like literally like fucking borderline like hyperventilating.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm like, well, I don't want to let them down. I don't want my mom to feel like she's not welcomed or any of these types of things.
Yeah.
And it was like a really interesting thing. And I finally found a way. Emma like helped me word it. And I was like, how long are you guys planning on being here? And I know that as I'm saying it, it seems like I want you to go. But Emma was good. She goes, no, he has to do some stuff. So he's trying to find out how long you guys are planning to stay. And then he'll push his stuff back for that amount of time.
Which is the truth.
Which is the truth. I just, in the moment, I didn't know how to say it, and it was just coming out so horrible, and I saw like my mom almost like look sad, which is even more fucking like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Communicated, hung out. It was like awesome to just be with my mom, and I messaged her afterwards about it. Like, I really hope I didn't like let you down by having like the attitude initially with it, but it was just one of those things where like being at capacity can make even the most sweet, kind moment with your family seem like the most stressful thing on the fucking planet.
Yeah.
And like, it's one of those things where like I got to keep that in mind. Like, what if I get that attitude from somebody, a friend, my wife, family member, a stranger on the street? Like, oh shit, maybe they are at capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that gets stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that can be a jerk when I'm fucking stressed.
Yeah.
So,
You know, it's an interesting kind of sad. It's like a thought that's sad, but we can work on it and like be ahead of it. When you're a parent and your kid is young, you don't really have time for them, and you're just like trying to find time, and then it's like getting in the way. They're like you, and they're coming up the elevator, like, all right, I got to move X, Y, and Z around so I can feed them, take care of them. But then there comes a time where they're grown up, and then they don't really have time for you. And it's almost like you miss the time on both ends. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's super important, I think, when you're a parent to try. Again, I'm talking out of my ass, I don't have kids, but like that shit has to be my number one priority is my family. Yeah. Everything else, I got to take care of them for sure with work. But if I don't spend time with you, it's not, there's no amount of money that makes up for that, to what you said earlier about you.
Well, I mean, I never felt like my pops didn't have time.
Yeah.
Like, never in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter what a basketball game, like, it didn't matter what it was. Mm-hmm. I never once felt like he was like, sorry. I don't think my dad ever said, I'm sorry, I can't be there.
Yeah. And you don't realize how hard that is
until crazy, right?
You have to be in that spot, and then you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah. How did this motherfucker always be there?
It was, I mean, just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I gotta not be an asshole fucking son.
That's a good resolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a great resolution.
It's interesting, though, you talk to your parents, too, and, like, do you also, I think we also, like, approach these things with arrogance, where we're just, like, because they've made so much of their lives about us, we assume that, like, that's all they want and need.
Yeah.
And then without us, they have nothing.
Yeah.
And it's also, like, you know, you talk to them, they're like, no, like, we're human beings. We like doing our things, too, and we're proud of you that you have your goals that you're going to achieve. Like, you haven't experienced that?
No.
Well, both of my parents also kind of like separated from their family. So they're more used to kind of chasing a thing.
Oh, no, my mom said to me, and I was almost like annoyed. I was like, that's just going to make me feel guilty for the rest of my life. She said something to me like, yeah, I don't ever really think about myself. I only think about you and your brother. And I was like, I said to her, that's really foolish. Like, you have to live for you. And she was like, I know, it's dumb. I just can't.
Wow.
And that's part of what my mom retired and then went back to work just so she has something else to do to fill the time. And then her and my brother's got, you know, he went through a lot of stuff and like he's still dealing with his issues with her. She and I are close, super close. Yeah. But it's also like, well, now I have a wife. I got to build a life with her and I'm on the road. So like, how do we make this work? Because you got to build your own life up.
Yeah.
And without that, this is going to be a fucking unhealthy thing.
I relate.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. You see why like families end up living together, but then when you live with other people, that also has its own stresses.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, just...
Two women living together? That's the stress. What are we talking about?
So, I came from there. I
got a buddy of mine who lives with, you all know him, and he lives with his wife, obviously, their two kids, and his wife's mom and dad, and his wife's brother. He moved all of them into his home. They live up in like Westchester.
Hero.
Now,
they got the guest home?
It ain't even a guest. It's a big house. Like, they have a big house, so there's like, you know, they're in a different wing. They don't have to worry about like fucking, but...
When you say wing, that shit is...
Wing sounds fire.
Wing sounds
Wing sounds fire. But it's one kitchen. It's like, you can't really fight.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you need to have an argument.
Yeah,
and if there's somebody else there, it's a performance. It ain't an argument.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
It's all passive, it's all subtle, and it festers and it gets even worse.
You give the look like, you really gonna do that?
Are we gonna do this? Are we gonna do it? And then
when they say shit to you in front of them, it's like, you get more annoyed because you're like, yo, fucking, there's people here. Why are you talking to me like this?
And not only that, you're almost like, wait, are you taking advantage of the fact that your family's here and I can't say shit?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, because you also want to be on the good side of the family.
Yep.
So he lives in that, and maybe they're just more open, but I could see how amazing it would be to just be with your family and have them there. But at the same time, I could see how it could really affect your relationship, and you couldn't like go through things, have tough conversations. Like, it would really stunt the growth of your relationship. So it's like, how do you do that shit? Do you have a cul-de-sac?
Let's all live in the same neighborhood, yo.
Yeah.
It's a neighborhood.
My sister has it like that. Dream. So my mom lives maybe like 2-3 blocks away from my sister. So it's like perfect. She's walking distance. She can come get the baby whenever. Like, but they're still separated enough
Where
where
they
it's
have their own fucking life. Bro, you
And it's
need
like,
that.
It's almost like
That's how my whole family is in Florida. Everyone's like within like 10 miles. But it's like all 14 nieces and nephews, grandkids, like are all within that range.
Wow.
And some are like right up the street and others are like a 10-minute drive, but everyone's close enough that if you need something, you can get it.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's smart.
That's
It's gonna be trickier with our moms though, and whoever you marry, because once they have kids, your wife, whoever she is, irrespective of the personality, when her mom tells her how to raise the kid, she's gonna be like, yeah, but that's my mom. She might get annoyed, but yeah, but that's my mom. If our moms try to say some shit that's remotely critical, they're gonna be like, hey, criticizing me. You know what I mean? It's a whole different thing. So that's another thing you got to deal with as a man. It's different. You want your mom there. I love my mom. My mom, I would love for her to live with us. But I know if she says something, it's going to come across a very specific way.
Yeah, I didn't know.